short break. Then after that, we will have the speakers. You can ask the questions.
My question is, I come from a country called Lebanon, who's like that's indebted $100 billion. So as I understood, the Belt and Road Initiative came to Lebanon to build an infrastructure, but we have so much debt. So, and that's one of the biggest hurdles right now, that countries like in Africa or in the Middle East are already indebted. And their goal is to borrow money to pay the debts and buy food. And it's really hard to convince those countries to invest in infrastructure.
银行的它的融资是首先是按照商业市场原则，有项目定了以后有银行贷款。
First of all, the financing is done in accordance with market economics by banks.
当然，中国政府也会提供这个无偿援助或者是低息贷款来帮助相关国家建设项目。
Also, the Chinese government can also offer some grants or low-interest loans to facilitate relevant construction.
但是真的，如果像黎巴嫩这样，真的有国家担心“一带一路”建设增加了你们的债务，使你们债务不堪重负的话，那你就不要参加“一带一路”建设。
But of course, if there are countries that really worry about over-indebting itself, they can stay out of this initiative too.
因为“一带一路”建设它是共商、共建、共享，不是我们强加给某个国家。
Because the Belt and Road Initiative is based on a joint contribution, extensive consultation, and shared benefits.
如果“一带一路”项目建设不能给你的国家带来好处，不能促进你们国家经济发展，不能改善你们国家的经济水平，那我建议你不要参加“一带一路”。Thank you.
If this initiative cannot really bring benefits to the relevant countries or improve the economic growth of the countries, then probably the best option is not to join the Belt and Road Initiative.
Thank you.
So may I just answer your question that you actually need more debt to be able to pay the debt. So that's the short answer, because you need to have the question of economy is not about money. The question is about building the real economy, and only if you build the real economy you will be able to pay any debts. And of course this is the only way to increase your production, and when you have a higher production, the debt will be a smaller margin. So this is the only way to get out of the debt, is actually to invest in real investments. And this is what the Belt and Road is all about. And of course, Lebanon is a great importance. It's the road between Istanbul and Cairo. We need to have peace for the whole Middle East with the railway, right through Lebanon.
Thank you. If you go to our website, you will find some material on that, on the question of the debt trap, what is fact and what is fiction. So you can have, we also take certain cases of countries who are allegedly being put in debt trap. We have explained, first of all, most of these countries like Pakistan, most African countries, almost all African countries, and Sri Lanka, their debt is 80 to 90% to Western countries and financial institutions, without any investment in infrastructure. The Chinese loans are different. They invested in infrastructure, they increased the productivity of those countries and allow them to repay their debt. So if there's a big difference in the kinds of loans China is providing to these countries and the kinds of loans the IMF gives to countries to pay old debt, as we have seen, for example, in the case of Greece. They get loans, they pay the old debt with interest, and they get even more debt. So that's a deadly spiral. So you can go to our website, actually, we have very good case studies there. We have the next...
My name is Mike Danilovich. I have a question to His Excellency Ambassador of Portugal. You are one of those European countries that are attending the Belt and Road Initiative. My question to you, sir, is what do you think is needed for Sweden to attend the Belt and Road Initiative?
Well, thank you very much for your question. Let me start to say that I represent Portugal, not Sweden, so I would not dare advising Sweden on what is best for Sweden. regarding the Belt and Road Initiative. I think that's up to the Swedish authorities, to the Swedish people. At the end of the day, what I can say is that, as I mentioned in my address, our experience, although quite recent, we signed the memorandum of understanding only at the end of last year, so we still implementation is just beginning. But what I can say is that, and I also mentioned the long-standing, fruitful, historic relationship between Portugal and China, first through Macau. And what I can say is that this relationship, which has developed over the years, is we have had fruitful experience. And recently, and going back to the former question, as was said, we look forward in this relationship is really for investment, foreign direct or Chinese direct investment, because on the real economy, since we firmly believe that's the way to development. It's not through debt. Of course, the financial markets are there, and there's no taboos with regard to also using financial tools. Sometimes they are indeed essential to development as well. But I would say that and if you can take as a conclusion, the focus should be on direct investment on the real economy, and we have had, as I said, in the last few years, a good experience with Chinese investment. As I mentioned, the health sector, energy sector, other sectors as well. And I can say that we have, there has been a fruitful experience, and we look forward to continue this fruitful relationship. Thank you. I don't know if I answered your question, but anyway.
Thank you very much.
我对菲亚大使做点补充。
I'd like to add something to what the Portugal ambassador said.
我们跟瑞典政府部门的朋友、政府政要和媒体以及“一带一路”经常进行交流。实际上我跟他们说的“一带一路”并不是一个什么虚无缥缈的概念，“一带一路”就是实实在在的合作。
I often have conversations with my Swedish friends in the Swedish government, the business community, and media. What I often tell them is that the Belt and Road Initiative is not an abstract idea, rather it is tangible cooperation.
什么是丝绸之路？中瑞丝绸之路实际上是瑞典人开辟的。
What is a Silk Road? The Silk Road between China and Sweden was actually opened by the Swedish side.
260多年前，你们的瑞典的哥德堡号远航中国，先把瑞典的铁矿和资源拿到西班牙换成钱，然后再拿这个钱到中国买回这个茶叶、瓷器和丝绸。
It was about 260 years ago when the Gothenburg vessel sailed all the way to China. In fact, it shipped iron and other resources from Sweden to reach Spain first, then sell these resources to get money, and then take the money to buy products like silk, porcelain, and tea from the Chinese market and take them all the way back to Sweden.
这就是丝绸之路，而且是瑞典人开辟的。
This is the Silk Road, and it was opened by the Swedish.
我们现在就是想中方提出一带一路，就想加强这样的丝绸之路合作。
Our proposal of the Belt and Road Initiative is exactly there to consolidate this cooperation.
那么哥德堡方面早就向我提出，希望中国的这个现在哥德堡跟中国没有直接的海上航道，哥德堡港务局负责人多次向我提出，希望开辟这样的直接航道，我们支持。
In fact, there is no direct line between China and the Gothenburg port now. The Gothenburg port authorities have raised a request to me on many occasions, hoping to open a direct line connecting China and Gothenburg city, which we support.
那么去年9月，达拉纳省开通了跟中国江西省的这个中欧班列，这个中瑞班列，把 把当地的木材出口到中国。
Last September, Dalarna County in Sweden opened a China-Europe freight train line connecting itself with Jiangxi province of China, transporting its timber into China.
这就是一带一路合作。
This is Belt and Road cooperation.
我还跟瑞典朋友建议，那么瑞典是对外援助大国，每年将1%的 GDP 用于对外援助。
Also, Sweden is very strong in international development cooperation. It gives 1% of its annual GDP as foreign aid to other countries.
我们可以中瑞完全可以在第三国利用各自的资源和优势来开展三方合作，促进第三国经济发展。
We can very well play into our own respective strength and carry out third-party market cooperation to bring benefits and prosperity to third-party countries.
包括刚才挪威朋友讲，开通这个随着气候变暖，各方都在积极探讨开通这个北冰洋的冰上丝绸之路。
Just now, I was told by my friend from Norway that as the climate is changing and some parties are considering the possibility of opening an Arctic passageway.
芬兰、挪威、俄罗斯都非常积极，在政府最高层面在推动。
Now, Finland, Norway, and Russia are very enthusiastic about this initiative, and they're pushing this forward on the very top level of government.
那么这样的丝绸之路开通以后，对瑞典肯定也有利，瑞典完全可以参与。
If such a Silk Road, an Arctic Silk Road, is indeed opened, Sweden can very well participate in it, as it will bring enormous benefits to Sweden.
总之，一带一路倡议就是实实在在的合作。
So, in one word, Belt and Road is nothing but concrete cooperation.
Thank you.
I will also be very careful about giving advice to the Swedish government, but I can tell you what I told the Norwegian Prime Minister about the Norway-China thing. It is basically to look at the possibilities. Focus on the possibilities and find the common ground. It is like when you met your wife or husband, you didn't look at the differences, you looked at the possibilities. That's how it should start.
I would like to answer the question from Professor Danilovic about what Sweden can do. Actually, speaking about Gothenburg, Sweden has an enormous cooperation with China with the Volvo. And this is actually part of the Silk Road. As you saw from the presentation of Hussein, industrialization is the main idea of the Silk Road, to promote industrialization. And Sweden has the biggest industrial cooperation, I think, in the whole Europe with China in the case of Volvo. And this means that Sweden is deeply involved now with China's Belt and Road. And we have many more companies. We have also Scania, who sold 520 trucks to this beton pump company in China. So this is a very, very, very big cooperation that's going on already. And the problem is that the political debate, the media debate, is just lagging behind. Actually, they're just not talking about this.
I'd like to hear if you see any possibilities of the belt also consisting of beauty export and beauty trade with the rest of the world from China. Thank you.
Thank you. 谢谢你的问题。一切人的快乐和幸福都是建立在丰富的物质生活的基础上。
The reason for me to bring up this story is that I want to illustrate all happiness and joy is built on at least some material being.
这是中国党和政府致力于大规模进行40年来的7天4夜的拓展的这个已经完7天4夜的拓展。
It was in fact owing very much to the efforts by the Chinese government in the past 40 years to lift 740 million Chinese people out of poverty.
我们在原有合作的基础之上，搞一带一路建设，也就是要帮助那些欠发达国家减贫，让人民过上体面的生活。
The reason for us to build on the existing international cooperation and launch the Belt and Road Initiative is exactly to help the underdeveloped countries to further reduce their poverty and deliver a decent life to their people too.
您刚才提到关于如何让中国的美学推广到推广到世界，这确实是我们中国人面临的一个现实的问题。
You mentioned how China can spread its beauty to other countries in the world. This is indeed a question we're faced with.
那么改革开放40多年，我们打开国门搞建设，国外的，特别是美国、欧洲，包括日本的那些美的东西，包括艺术，大规模的引进到中国，也受到了中国老百姓的欢迎。
Over the past 4 decades of reform and opening up, we developed ourselves with an open door. That means arts and beauty from countries like the US, European countries, and Japan have entered the Chinese market, and they have been very popular amongst our Chinese citizens.
但是也有一些中国人在欣赏美欧西方国家这个美学艺术的同时，把自己的这个艺术和美学给忘记了。
But there are also cases where some Chinese people, while admiring the beauty from the US, from European countries and other Western countries, forgetting our own traditional beauty.
那么前不久，习近平主席在中国主办的亚洲文明对话论坛，那个习近平主席在开幕式上发表重要讲话。
In the cultural dialogue amongst civilizations of Asia, President Xi Jinping delivered a keynote speech.
提出要大力推动亚洲国家文明之间的交流互鉴。
He proposed that Asian countries need to have more exchanges and communication amongst our civilizations.
实际上也向我们提出一个重要的任务，就是您刚才提到，我们在欣赏西方，包括其他外部文明的同时，也应该把自己的文明推向世界。
That actually gave us one mission. That is, while we admire the culture and the beauty from other countries, some other Western countries, we also need to better present our own beauty.
一带一路有一带一路介绍5个方面，其中民心相通就是一个重要的方面。
Now there are 5 pillars of interconnectivity of the Belt and Road Initiative. Interpeople connectivity is one very important pillar of them.
而文化艺术，包括您提到的美学的交流，就是促进人心相通的这个重要渠道。
And exchanges among cultures, arts, and beauties are one very important dimension to interconnectivity between the people.
作为大使，我会认真执行你向我提出的任务。
As ambassador, I will faithfully execute this mission that you gave me.
向瑞典朋友多介绍中国的美学。
And better present Chinese beauty to the Swedish friends.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In our afternoon panel, we have a number of distinguished academicians and speakers who will address the question of culture, also give us a picture of China from inside China, not from outside China. I have a question.
We also have to thank the hosts here for the China Culture Center, and I think this is a very good place to admire the Chinese beauty and the exhibitions in this place. So welcome back here.
All right. I'll come back. I have a question. We are fortunate to have in our audience Her Excellency Ambassador of Malaysia. Malaysia last year was used when there was a shift in the government, and the new Prime Minister and the new government cancelled some of the projects. Now, all over Europe and the United States say, this is the backlash against the Belt and Road. This shows that the Belt and Road is a failed project. Look at all these nations now canceling, and they took Malaysia as an example. How much of that is fact and how much of that is fiction? Have you reneged on the Belt and Road?
Thank you for the question. First of all, I would like to thank BRICS for this invitation and for organizing this event. I mean, I learned so much from the panelists today. Malaysia is part of the BRI, and yes, there's been a lot of coverage in the media about the projects under BRI since the new government took over last year. So now we're exactly about 1 year into the new government, and we have seen that our Prime Minister attending the Belt and Road forum in Beijing. And Malaysia and China relations have always been very good. And we've had long-standing, excellent relations, and it's about dialogue. So when the new government came in, it found itself, heavily indebted with that very notorious 1MDB case, which put us in a very heavily indebted, and also these major projects, and which some of it were with China under the BRI. So after 1 year, actually the government took the decision to review these projects because it was adding to the financial burden of the country. And but what we found was that, I mean, we need infrastructure. As we heard during the presentation, connectivity, helps economic development. I mean, Malaysia is, for Malaysia, we have, our connectivity, we have excellent air, road, transportation, infrastructure, and that has helped our economic development. So through negotiations, actually, one of the projects was this East Coast Rail Link, and our government had announced recently that we managed to bring down the loans down to about 1/3 of the actual the agreed amount. So it shows that these projects are important for a country's development, countries like Malaysia and other developing countries. It's important to have these projects, and we're very appreciative that the spirit of openness and cooperation given by the Chinese government to have this avenue to discuss, to how to, we have to move forward. So these projects are beneficial for us, and we found a way on how to continue by through negotiations. And I'd like to also comment on what Ambassador John said about the tangible benefits. Because I was in Bangladesh before I was posted here, and I also visited Colombo. So I've seen the developments through this BRI. You see highways being built, and that has helped a lot, for the economic of these countries. Thank you so much.
We take the last question here, and then we make the lunch break.
Well, my name is Jesse from Sintra, and I have a question to Ambassador Lee. Yes. At the forum on RE in China, President Xi extended an invitation to Austria to be a member of the format 17+1. That means that would be 18+1. Now, that brings, if we accept Austria, that would be would mean that there would be 12 countries, EU countries, who will be member of that organization, of that initiative. When I was reading in the media and so on, I wonder, is this initiative complementary to BRI, or is it parallel to BRI? I would like to know if you can make some comments.
So could you please briefly restate who restate the question, please?
Okay. The question is that the Chinese initiative of the format of Central and Eastern Europe, the CEE, of 17 plus 1, that means 17 European plus 1 Chinese, and with 12 countries from the EU. I would like to know if, and they have several projects and so on, is this complementary to BRI?
Yeah, is the question clear? If these projects are just Chinese, East European projects, or are these part of the Belt and Road Initiative? That's what your question is?
Exactly.
Yes.
I would welcome the participation of Austria into the Belt and Road Cooperation.
那么，据我掌握的情况，奥地利我们好像还没有人提出要邀请奥地利加入16+1。
As far as I know, I'm not aware of the situation where Austria is invited to join the CEC cooperation framework.
这个，那么16+1是中国跟中东欧国家的一个互利共赢的合作机制。
The CEC cooperation is a cooperation mechanism between China and Central and Eastern European countries.
但是据我所知，我们“一带一路”跟16+1跟中东欧国家的“一带一路”合作，目前还都是在双边层。
Now, as far as I know, the Belt and Road cooperation between us and CEC countries are mainly bilateral.
那么，中国跟把16个中东欧国家作为一个整体来开展“一带一路”建设，目前还没有听说。
Now, I am not aware of the situation where China carries out Belt and Road cooperation with the 16 CEC countries as a collective.
这要取决于中东欧国家16个中东欧国家本身的意见和立场。
I think it eventually will be determined by the positions and willingness of the 16 CEC countries themselves.
我想最主要的不是“一带一路”，不是“一带一路”最主要的，是无论开展什么形式的合作，衡量这“一带一路”合作的标准是否成功的标准只有一个。
I think there is eventually only one standard to judge whether Belt and Road cooperation is successful.
就是能够促进沿线国家和地区的经济发展和人民生活水平的提高。
That is, whether it can improve the living standards of the people in the countries along the route.
我想，所有关于“一带一路”合作，这个形式参与国的讨论，都是要以这个为根本标准。
I think the form of cooperation and participation into Belt and Road cooperation should be eventually judged by this standard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, our distinguished guests and your excellencies. We will take now a 1-hour lunch break, but please be back here in time. As I said, we have a very distinguished panel of speakers in the afternoon. So thank you, all of you, the speakers and the audience, for this session.